have Emiliano, and I hope I get this name pronounced. Giovanni Noni. Is it?
Yeah,
Is that
perfect.
close?
Well done,
Ah,
Alan.
wonderful.
Yeah.
Well done. Hey, Chasefive, and FAPI framework founder, and you've been 20 years of internet. You have 20 years of international experience working for organizations from Nasdaq listed multinationals to VC funded startups. Your organization is based on your belief that marketing should be a force for good in the world. However, we recognize that the world is changing rapidly and more than a range of traditional marketing techniques is needed to succeed in today's environment. And that's why Chase5 developed the FAPI marketing framework, which I want to definitely dive into, a new marketing methodology that empowers ambitious entrepreneurs, business leaders to deliver their vision by creating high performance marketing organizations. So welcome, Emiliano, and look forward to having this conversation with you.
Thank you, Alan. It's a pleasure.
Absolutely. So, just to start out, you before the podcast, we had a little conversation that your roots are from Italy, and now you found your way to Brisbane, Australia.
Yes,
And if
the
you could
East
talk a
Coast
little
of
bit more
Australia.
about that
Yeah.
journey and also kind of the journey of how Chase Five came about.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Alan. I was born and grew up in Italy, in Rome. I lived and worked in London in my 20s, like lots of Europeans end up,
Mm-hmm.
having experience in London and so many opportunities. And that's where I started working in digital marketing, going back to, I guess, the beginnings of, e-commerce and internet marketing as an industry. And so that goes back, more than 20 years. And from there, I continued to work in marketing management roles for, especially in tech organizations, until my most recent role was at Microsoft, where I was in charge of their social media marketing team for the APAC region from Brisbane here. And so it's through, I guess, this journey that I sort of developed the idea that there was an opportunity and a need, I guess, in marketing for maybe some of the structure within the organizational side of things that maybe other industries have or other professional sectors have, like engineering, logistics. They have sort of some level of formulaic guidelines for people managing functions in those areas, but maybe marketing doesn't quite have that maturity. And so having worked in the corporate sector, so obviously Microsoft is an example, but I worked for other sort of fairly large organizations. I saw the benefit of having a certain level of structure in the organization, planning and production phases that I thought could be expanded to all businesses, not just the large multinationals. That, I guess, is in a nutshell where the whole sort of idea or the spark started, if you like. And I was also
Yeah.
involved in stuff, like you mentioned in the introduction. I've been involved in startups. I worked for a startup here in Brisbane called Clipchamp, was then subsequently acquired by Microsoft. So their Clipchamp is now, I guess, one of the products within the Office 365 because of the video editing. So that was a successful project. And again, seeing the needs and the challenges of small teams or small businesses and startups versus maybe the way things are structured and organized in larger organizations, trying to find a sort of a sweet spot there, if you like, was my drive. A bit sort of like the managerial side of marketing is not the most exciting, I suppose, but that's really what we're talking about. The boring
Yeah.
side of marketing.
Well, you try, and it sounds like just looking at your structure of how you present it and so forth. I think you try to keep it fresh and sort of like leading edge in terms of the way you approach it. It's not just managing a process. It's about creating a framework. So
Yeah,
you wanted to chat about that sort of direction? That'd be interesting.
Absolutely. I mean, look, marketing is complex, right? It's, whether in large organizations more so, but in a business of any size, it's stretches across all different departments. Whether it's product, whether it's again logistics. There's the technology side. There's the messaging, and so it's a very complex area. And so the framework essentially is designed to ensure that marketing functions operate in a way that's balanced across strategy, operations, production, and then the analytical part. So essentially, the underlying thought is to win in marketing, you need to operate successfully across 4 different areas. So the strategic area, which is your classic marketing pillars, the segmentation, the competitive positioning, the messaging, the audience, the budgeting, the media mix, and all the true marketing piece. And then the operational part, which is, I guess, pre-production, is the tactical planning, so resources allocation, KPIs, metrics, forecasting, ensuring that you're not going to blow the budget, that you have some level of clarity or visibility, and I guess make things as predictable as they can be, and then you can push to production, which is the day-to-day execution, which whether you and I sort of lean on the agile scrum, quasi sort of agile scrum methodology, simplified for marketing teams, and then obviously the analytical part, which is it's then a continuous sort of like improvement loop, if you like, learning from the data and pushing back into the planning. So what I see more often than not with smaller businesses is the tendency to jump from their initial strategic part, the pricing, the segments, the position, which lives inside of this business plan, jump from there to production is a frequent sort of scenario. And then things become a little bit hectic in between, the strategy. These 2 pieces are far removed from each other, so it's trying to close that gap a little bit and provide some structure in terms of managing resources, really, and is what we're talking about.
Do you have any companies that come to mind that you've worked with, whether recently or in your startup of your business and so forth, that have really taken your principles, et cetera? You're describing kind of like what a typical small business startup, whatever it would usually do on, if they just run on their own instincts. That you've said, wow, this really demonstrates how effective, if you do it correctly. Do you have any examples of that?
Well, I mean, obviously, the very large organizations do all of this well.
Yes.
And
yes.
I love the experience at Microsoft, so I will leave that out because.
That's I'm sure you did well.
Extreme. But I guess that's part of the inspiration. I spent a lot of time in my career working for tech organizations. My marketing management career, responsible for the team, started with Melbourne IT. They are a domain registrar here in Australia. They used to be one of the largest internationally. I think that market's changed a lot now because we're going back 20 years. But so having worked in that space for a while, I've been exposed to I've worked with leadership teams that often come from that IT or tech or engineering background, and so if the organizational side, it's culturally native to people that come from IT and engineering in general, even outside of IT. I guess there is more of a mindset of I guess project management, or the foundations are there. So I saw a lot of good stuff coming out of some of the businesses I worked for in that space, and learnt a lot. I think that's like linking to what I was saying earlier. I think that's where marketing really can look at other other areas, other professions, and try to maybe borrow and steal, to improve and so,
emulate. Yeah.
and that I think that's and that's I think that's influenced my the framework that I developed.
Sure. And that framework, can you maybe do a quick description of it? It just because it sounded very interesting. That'd be great.
Yeah, the quick description would be thinking of the life of a marketing manager, head of marketing, or even a CMO in a business of any size. At the beginning of the planning process, and so the acronym for the FAPI marketing framework is Frame, Architecture, Production, and Insights. And Frame is the first stage, which is essentially the strategy. And I call it Frame because that's supposed to delineate the area. It's non-negotiable decisions, right? This is the frame within which we operate. So, like I was saying earlier, the target audience, the pricing, these decisions cannot be changed quickly. They're long-term, they're non-negotiable, and they're mission-critical. So, and again, when you work with small businesses, you see sometimes some of these decisions questions at the operational level, and you think, okay, well, this is a red light, if you like. So the first stage is to encode the frame from the business leadership team, make sure that everything has been covered, it's well understood by the marketing team, and then decode it into the tactical planning, which I call the architecture. I call it the architecture because in working with smaller businesses, you try and look for analogies in explaining things, and an analogy that I often use was if we're in the construction sector, for instance, if you and I, Alan, had funding to build a
skyscraper,
an apartment skyscraper, a skyscraper, and we had permits and everything we need, we wouldn't necessarily jump immediately to the building, right? Engaging the best carpenters and tilers and so forth, but we'd go through a process loosely defined as an architecture sort of process, and so that's why I've decided to use that term. So that's after the strategy comes the architecture, which is the tactical planning, and it's really, like I was saying earlier, resources planning, forecasting, deciding what kind of skills are needed, how much of each skills, how success is going to be defined, the milestones, and only once that's once the architecture is complete and signed off and everyone understands and is happy with it, then we can push to production, which is the production module, the third stage, which essentially is sort of like based heavily on agile rituals, weekly sprints and revisions, and central to the production stage is removing distraction from day-to-day production. So removing brainstorming of new ideas from day-to-day execution, removing revisions of performance from day-to-day execution. These are all, from my observation, it'd be interesting to see if other marketing people share this experience, but they are also quite frequent in the marketing in marketing sector. So there's a lot of distraction in the day-to-day operation. So you could go into a team meeting that's designed to evaluate execution and suddenly end up discussing completely new ideas, or that happens a lot more in marketing than it happens, say, in IT projects.
Well, it kind of makes sense that marketing is such a creative endeavor that it's like it's easy to sort of veer off. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So that, but giving that part of it, giving the creativity its own space is I guess the idea. And then the final stage, which is the insights, is ways and systems to learn from the data and improve the execution from the data. And in a nutshell, within the insights, what's central within the insights phase is the subdivision of metrics between management level marketing metrics and production level marketing metrics, which is another, I guess, friction point in marketing, which is scenario where the managing director is presented with a 50 pages SEO report. That's a case where you need to separate production level metrics from management level metrics, and management level metrics need to illustrate in a concise, compact way the entire user journey. In a way that can be digested and acted on by the business leadership team, and obviously I use that term loosely depending on the structure of the business.
Size of the
Whilst the production, it's where individually team members can dive into specific, even evaluating channel performance, asset performance, but separating these two areas. So that I would say these are some of the key points. I've probably forgotten some, but hopefully it gives you
no, a good framework.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So I have a question, like how you have this process you provide to your clients and so forth. How do you take it internally into Chasefive and have, what I mean, like, because you're the experts in it. And how do you, so to speak, walk the talk? How do you make sure that your guys are also on point in that regard?
So then the framework really is operationalized, I guess you could say, in a couple of ways. And obviously, Chasefive is a startup in its own right. So hoping to develop further, but one way to operationalize the FAPI framework is through consulting, obviously, and that can take the shape of sort of project management consulting, where I could work with a client and implement the core pillars of the framework with their team. Or more of a training kind of like scenario, where sometimes I've just led workshops without really getting into the real life execution, but helping teams or marketing coordinators absorb the concepts to then deploy, and so that's the more of a sort of, I guess, service side. And then the other is through a software as a service application that again helps tighten, if you like, or all of the different pieces of the framework. But the two things are interlinked, because, as you know better than I do, software is as good as the use we make of it. So there needs to be the underlying knowledge of the framework in order to be able to use the software application correctly, or in a way that then is sustainable over time. So and what I'd like to see in the future and over the next few years is other marketing practitioners also use the framework, or use, whether they are freelancers or consultants, or whether they are in-house marketing professionals who want to maybe become experts in the FAPI framework and help evangelize it, if you like, and use it in their own work. So it's not just something that I want to sort of ring fence within the Chasefive business, but
Sure.
happy to work with colleagues everywhere.
Wonderful. And as far as do you have a particular, as far as when you're out looking for, as far as your marketing approach and your sales approach, do you have a particular type of client that you're ideally trying to collaborate with and so forth? Is there something? And is it geographical too? As the other question is it?
It's definitely not geographical. I've had clients everywhere, literally all continents.
Okay.
The sweet spot. A question I get often is, what size company is best suited? I always say, okay, sweet spot is maybe the mid-market organizations, but realistically, I think it's more down to the culture of the leadership team within a business. I've worked with small businesses where the managing director, the CEO, the founders have embrace the mindset of the framework, which is and the methodology, if you like. So it's worked well for companies with 30 or 50 employees. But I often think, really, the mid-market, maybe mid-size, is a great sweet spot.
Absolutely. And how do you find yourself as far as like, is it mostly referrals? Is it do you have a particular strategic way of reaching that marketplace, or do you?
It's some referrals, some partnerships, referral partnerships with organizations that have similar clientele, and it's direct outreach through LinkedIn, and a lot of content marketing as well. That ends up giving the project some visibility. So I guess the usual, and I operate at a scale where I don't need. I'm not at the moment looking for hundreds of clients. So the level of sales, the sales output is relatively low at this stage.
Do you have a vision for your company because everybody's different in terms of what their long-term vision, or even short-term vision for the next year or the next 4 or 5 years. Do you see Chasefive growing in a certain direction, or do you want to maintain it? Do you like the size you're at right now, or do you see that there's more opportunity, that you have a chance to expand more, and that's something that would be that you would like to see happen? I don't know if
The vision is the vision is to grow a team of consulting specialists internationally that can work independently and be specialists, and so that's something. It's a little bit too early now to push that, but it is the vision in the sort of medium term.
Do you within your business now, are your consultants, are they working underneath Chasefive completely? Are they independent in some way, or do you have
independent? They're all independent collaborators.
So you have people that are specific to certain types of parts of the operation that in terms of their skill sets and in education and so forth.
Yeah, they come from different marketing journeys, if you like, and they do their marketing consulting, and they I've also taken an interest and learned the principles of the FAPI framework, and we work together. And so I'd like to develop that internationally as a network of specialist consultants. So that's, I suppose, the medium term vision.
Yeah, no, that sounds interesting. And it seems like a good way to, by branching out and having all these independent consultants you're working together with, that under the framework of Chasefive, that your business will grow kind of organically in a sense, if you have those connections and to that, something to that effect. I don't know.
I think so. I think that's, you're right. The hope that there can be a network effect there, and if that network effect can be leveraged, then everyone can benefit. And so definitely in the vision there is also, and this is an area that you'd relate to, but is one of the aspects I often think about is, is there a need to harness this network effect maybe under some kind of a platform or operating or some sort of sharing or collaborating interface, or is that maybe not necessarily mission critical? So that there are, there are these aspects in terms of how to best scale, whether it's best to do it organically and see how things grow, what the needs are, or whether to develop processes first and then try to. It's difficult decision sometimes because you think whether you're missing out or whether you are overinvesting.
Where does that fall in line with your framework? Like that particular, is that the very beginning? Is that the sort of like
in that framework? Yeah, that's strategic because that's product development.
That's what I'm wondering.
Right?
Yeah.
So product,
so it's more of a
which is if you look at pure marketing, the way it's taught, at university courses, product is a strategic marketing cornerstone, and so that definitely lives in the frame along with everything else that we talked about. So these thinking decisions are product decisions. They're long term. They're not negotiable. Once you've started that train, if you're developing a platform for people to collaborate, you can't be going back quickly and easily.
That's a big commitment and sort of like choosing a direction for your company, right? It's like, and I can see why it would be difficult to figure out, okay, well, you have a certain amount of resources to be able to allocate to do this, and is it to create, the platform that you could connect all the different independent consultants, et cetera.
Yeah.
Or is it a question of just more outreach to reach more potential clients that fit into 30 to 50 person size business? You know what I mean? Like it's just
generating business.
Exactly. What's the best way to allocate your resources?
This is really difficult in the service sector. We're talking about business services here because the real question, and maybe unanswerable, is what is the core product? Is the core product the platform, or is the core product the consulting? And what is the perceived value for the customer? So it's sort of nailing this is easier in a physical product environment if we're manufacturing shoes.
Absolutely.
But in a service space, you can drive yourself a little mad if you think about it too much.
Yeah. No, I was just, if I was in your shoes, let's say, I would probably, I'd be looking at, because I feel like the platform it's a wonderful but it's like, if you start to steer in that direction, then your revenue generating services aren't being maximized. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So I'd probably lean towards getting your revenue to a place where you have the freedom to maybe hire a specific person or company or team to help develop that platform that can reach internationally and so forth. So
it's sometimes because it's time. No, I think
it's easy. It's easy on the sidelines, right? I'm not in your shoes.
Yeah. So, but you're right, because sometimes it's about timing, right? Is it it's not necessarily a case that developing a platform to leverage the network effect isn't the right thing to do, but is now the right time to do it, and that's
Well, it's interesting because one thing I've done some podcasts with some other marketing consultants, and some quite successful, and all of them have frameworks. So, you know what I mean? Because the concepts they just may call it something different. They may position it something, right? And so just a thought, that.
Everybody who works in any field over a period of time would develop a way of doing things, a toolkit, a set of processes and systems. And really what we're talking about is then making these available to other, and I think this is maybe where you're going, to other professionals in the same sector. And I guess, my toolkit, if you like, if you want to describe the framework that way, is around, I guess, organizational management of a function, of a marketing function, really taking that view. But then, yes, you're absolutely right. Another area could be also more geared towards the development of creative ideas, right? A set of systems, processes, and so, as you bring many people within and a network, then you obviously bring all of this knowledge together as well. So,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's potential there.
Yeah. So as far as the the idea of the future and so forth for you guys, you've already kind of you've got a sense of where you're going in 2026. What do you see as sort of the challenges and areas that could show up? For especially with, we talked a little bit about the pre-podcast as far as how is technology, specifically like AI technology, how is that impacting your business? And there could be good aspects and challenging aspects to it. So I was just curious about your viewpoint.
The elephant in the room. The AI would. No, I look at it. I think we have to be honest and say, well, there's no real clarity as to what the impact of AI is going to be on any of the things we just talked about. So
sure.
I think the best way in 2026, I guess, is to make sure that AI is integrated in the processes and the systems that are part of the framework and the software, so that it's the capability of AI is maximized. At what stage will AI change the shape of marketing management? Is it more on the production stage, more on the strategy stage? I have no absolute clarity on that. I think there's a couple of things that AI is going to do in the very short term. I think with software development, or with MarTech, I guess there's been a proliferation of marketing technology. But I think maybe if we look at the last 20 years or so, the bell curve was, we went from software only being available to some companies and it was bespoke, to software as a service being available to also all businesses, but in a generalist way. So you buy a Trello, Asana, you make it work for you. It's not designed for your business, but you kind of make it work. And we're going to, in my opinion, now to a stage where software is going to be available to all businesses, but it's going to be individually. So bespoke again, but not with the cost so that's going to create some level of disruption in marketing management. And a lot of the work that I do with my clients from a consulting point of view is also looking at the MarTech stack. And there's a lot of disruption there. That's really central to the framework, to marketing management in general. That's going to be, if we think 2026, I think that's going to be a big piece of work from a consulting point of view. So I think with AI you can only really think short term, because I think it's very hard to know exactly. And I think strategy work, marketing strategy work is requires more than just large language models at the moment. It requires AI to be able to do something slightly different, because it really is consulting work. You need to build that relation with decision makers.
There's a human element.
There's an element of faith in strategy that you need to build with clients. As obviously I'm very sort of process driven and sort of try to have a very rational approach to planning, but realistically strategy often goes beyond that, and it's more about vision. And so at some point AI needs to sort of be able to do that piece, which is, as you say, relational. So I would say more at the moment the impact is more on the production side.
Absolutely. Well, Emiliano, I would love to. I could talk.
I could go on forever.
No. It's a really fascinating company you built, and the topic and kind of your approach to marketing and stuff. So I feel like whatever you're going to do, it's going to be successful. You're going to find the right people to collaborate with and continue to scale and grow Chasefive, and wish you continued success. And
thank you.
Otherwise, I'm gonna go ahead and say for now, and just say thank you for being on, and Founders HQ, and hopefully down the road we'll reconnect and maybe have a follow up to see how things have
Yeah.
progressed and so forth.
I hope so.
Thank you very much.
Alan.
Okay.
My pleasure.
And
Thank you.
yes.